But first, to
Yeah.
kick off the very first confession for you, we have Siva talking
Mm.
about Pantang and his workplace, especially
Mm.
in production. Let's take a listen to that first confession tonight, shall we?
Yeah, Siva.
Because I work in production, last time, so we have had a lot of shoots where things happen that I cannot explain. There's one time we shot at Little Guilin at Bukit Batok, right? There's a park outside. So I was shooting a short film there with the time when I was still studying in LaSalle. So we had like requirements where we had to make short films and all that. So there was one time I did a shoot in Little Guilin area, the park next to it, right? Halfway through the shoot, one of the guys got possessed. Out of nowhere, suddenly he started doing somersaults and making like wildcat noises, like a kind of weird pose. Didn't look human at all. He started doing somersaults on the concrete pavement. Like what the fuck, So they had to. The shoot was conducted by my classmate, right, whose dad happens to be a bomo. So they did some calls up, and then like within 1 hour, like three Malay guys came in with like they're playing like Islamic music. So they brought him to the corner, then they started to calm him down and all that. And within like 15 minutes, he was back to normal. And then after that, like he told us, like when he started to speaking, right, he said like, oh, actually what happened was we were filming the thing, right, and then I saw 3 Pontianaks in the park area. And then immediately I don't remember what happened. So apparently he does kuda kepang, where when something happens, right, the spirit, he had a leopard spirit. So the leopard spirit took over his body to protect us. So that's pretty much what happened. So that's one of the most significant incidents I remember. First time I saw someone get possessed and doing all this stuff, Normally you just read out a book, but I see it like, wow. The most common one, right, and this is standard across all religion and all culture, right, always ask for permission when you enter to a place that no one is staying in. So it could be an abandoned building, or it could be even a tree, because the main belief is that spirits live in trees, water bodies. Abandoned houses usually will have like the tenants there to speak. So the most polite thing to do is like how you go to someone's house, right? You always ask if you want to do anything. So same thing, go to an empty place, always ask for permission. And I always do that. It's part of my own culture, own ritual as well. I go to a place where I will say, okay, sorry for being here. I just want to come here and shoot for a few hours. Please don't disturb me. And always go smoothly. And I've come across shoots where they don't do this. A lot of nonsense will happen. Suddenly it will rain, suddenly got lightning storm, suddenly this thing will break. So yeah, that's something in production. That's very common in production. Definitely in Singapore, even in Vietnam as well, where I live now. I think most parts of Southeast Asia do the same thing as well.
Right. That's pretty interesting. Thank you very much to Siva for that. Now, a two-part confession. Obviously, the first part had to do with the possession case that he witnessed. Second part, of course, with the practices. And I think we're all going to have a lot to say regarding the Pantang practices and stuff when it comes to production. Particularly, I'm quite interested to hear from John because of his extensive background in theatre. But if we could just start talking about the possession element of his video, right? Just to get some of your comments and your reactions to that. I mean, he mentioned his friend or his acquaintance got possessed, right? Started doing somersaults, acting like an animal. In fact, the first thing on my mind was this like a monkey god possession? Because we always hear, I mean, of like possessions or spirits, people acting like monkeys, crawling, climbing up. But as Siva would continue, he said they found out that this was a leopard spirit that he had been possessed by. Now, I didn't even know there were leopard spirits. John, what do you know about this?
I mean, the hantu harimau, the tiger spirit, is one of the strongest Malay spirits that often possesses people. So I suppose this is the relative, right? The cousin of the harimau. In fact, it's called harimau bintang, right? If I'm not mistaken, a leopard. So it's the hantu harimau bintang.
Really?
Quite uncommon.
That's what the bintang in Bintang Beer stands for.
maybe.
I did not know that. Right, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that, a fierce jungle cat spirit, would be a protector. I think the Chinese believe in jungle cats as protectors.
Okay, but obviously with this whole leopard spirit, I mean, which ethnic background would you tend to relate this to?
Okay.
Malays, Chinese, what?
For me, definitely Malay, because we don't speak too much about the tiger spirit in Singapore. Taiwan has a lot of tiger spirits, and it's quite often worshipped, right? And Hu Ye is also quite respected. So some people do get possessed by that. That's Taoist tradition. But I think the tiger spirit in Malay tradition is, I think, one of the stars.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
a leopard would be a good supporting character, you know.
Okay. Kudang Kerpang. What is Kudang Kerpang?
Eugene, you want to explain?
Yes, Kuda Kepang is actually it's a Javanese practice where the 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 devotee would sit on a paper horse or
Yeah.
horse made of
Like
straw.
like a hobby horse.
Yeah, and then they will go into a trance, right? They go into a
Mm.
trance. They will call different I believe spirits into their body. So I had
The horse spirit, actually, specifically the horse spirit. Yeah.
So I have one confessor on our YouTube channel. Go check him out. He talks about Kuda Kepang as well. And there is two camps to Kuda Kepang. And Kuda Kepang back in the 80s, even I think up to the 90s, was quite prevalent in Singapore. There were places where they were practicing, they had whips and they would go into trance, they would dance around. However, it is considered non-Islamic. And most of the practitioners for Kuda Kepang are Malay. So there was this
tension
between the practices. So I think you don't see Kuda Kepang anywhere in Singapore these days.
Okay.
It's used a lot as a cultural showcase now, just as a dance, right? But I think the spiritual element, they have to keep it on the down low. You know, I don't know how many sort of true Kuda Kepang practitioners there still are. But the clue for this story is because he was a Kuda Kepang practitioner, he's already susceptible to possession by animal spirits.
Oh,
That's what he regularly does. So I think if a leopard spirit came along, he would be the ideal candidate.
Okay. Now, what I thought particularly interesting was when he started talking about it to his friend who had just gotten possessed by this leopard spirit, right? And he found out that before he was possessed or he lost consciousness, couldn't remember what was happening, he had actually seen 3 Pontianas, not one, not two, but 3 Pontianas, right? And almost like a self-defense mechanism, you know, I don't know if he invited the leopard spirit into his body, but the leopard spirit possessed him to scare away the Pontianas, right? Which I thought was very interesting. I had never thought or ever, I've never associated possession with protection, right? And it just kind of made me wonder, maybe all these times, right, when people get possessed and we hear, we go, oh, that's terrible. Maybe it's actually a good thing. Maybe getting possessed by whatever spirit they got possessed by was actually there to protect them from something even worse.
I think what happens when, you know, sort of Hollywood or the movies take over the theme of possession is that it always becomes evil, right? It's always about saving the poor, innocent human being from the evil spirit. But I think, you know, the older generation know, right? Especially from religious perspectives, you know, whenever you're possessed, it's because, you know, a guardian spirit or a deity has something to say, has something to do, and they do it by possessing people, right? That's a functional sort of practical aspect of spiritualism, which has been overshadowed by all the movies, right? So yeah, I think this is what this story proves, right? I don't think he invited the spirit. I think maybe it's an ongoing feud, right? Leopards versus the triple Pontianak, you know? And so the Pontianaks were there trying to sort of, you know, hunt these people down, and then the leopard just, you know, so you can see it as sort of like a sort of Hantu Marvel universe, right? And there's this battle. And then these are the poor film crew that got caught up in the middle of it and got used as a human shield. You know?
No, and also, I mean, with a Kudang Kepang practitioner, right? I mean, in this particular case, it was mentioned that because he was a practitioner, you know, he was particularly susceptible to spirits. Now, I mean, I don't know, I don't have a lot of information about this. I will have to defer to your expertise, but is it just one particular spirit you are susceptible to? Could it be like the leopard spirit today and another spirit tomorrow?
So I mean,
depending on exactly what they're chasing away, then that appropriate spirit will then come into their bodies.
This one I got to answer. So not the Malay side, but I spoke to the Thai side, right? And apparently all of us, it's almost like those Red Indian kind of, you have a totem.
Hey, cannot say Red Indian,
Native American Indian.
Native American.
Yes.
What is it? Woke culture and all. Okay, Native
generation
American Indian, right? You have a totem, and like if you're born under a certain auspicious star, you are a bear spirit. You have the fox spirit. You have the wolf spirit.
Yeah.
And the same is with this Thai practices as well. You have a certain dominant beast or a spirit that can possess you. So if you are someone who is fierce, a military might, you might attract the bear or the lions. But if you're like the kunyang, maybe it's like a house cat or a cicak, the spirit will come to possess you.
So does
Can
that
you
mean
choose? Do you have a say in what spirit
like
enters
choosing
your
your
body?
spirit animal,
No,
right?
you don't.
You have no say.
You have no say. The good thing is, I want to brag about this, right? I have a white wolf guardian that can.
You have a
take over
white
me.
wolf guardian.
Yeah. So I was told by
Why must be white wolf? Is this for your inner SPG? Is it?
That's not a very Asian guardian.
white dire wolf.
So your
No,
white
but
wolf
yeah,
guardian is very far away because it's in the wrong climate.
No, but you see, because in the spiritual world, geographical distance don't
I
really
see.
matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
well, in the Chinese world, we only have 12 to choose from. So this year, good luck if you're gonna get possessed by a rabbit. The Pontianak will get you. Okay. No,
so
for
the other
me,
thing about Pontianak, right, is I never thought of them traveling in threes. I always thought they were like apex predator, just
Then
one.
what? I mean, if you compare them to vampires, right? Dracula had
Yeah.
the brides of Dracula, three of
that's
them,
true.
right?
That's true. No, but also it's about being up against a leopard spirit, right? I think they have to gang up, right?
But
again,
did they know? Did they
think
know
it's-
that there was going to be a leopard spirit
So
there?
this is my theory, right? So this happened at Little Guilin, right? Which
Mm.
was once quite wild, and then after that became a quarry, and then the quarry was abandoned, and then became sports complex, right? So this is a remnant of the wilder times, lah. Okay, when I think Pontianaks and leopard spirits chased each other through the jungle, and we are stepping into possibly a centuries old feud.
Yeah.
Maybe the leopard spirit sees this as his territory. And the Pontianak are hunting in his ground. So he has the right to use whatever he can to possess them. To fight them, right?
Right.
But with the Kuda Kepang thing, right? Because if he trains in Kuda Kepang, then he would regularly call upon the horse spirit to possess him. Because that's what he, 3 times a week, so he has to do that, right? So I think I don't think the leopard is his familiar or his animal spirit, but because of everyone in that group, the rest couldn't even see the Pontianaks.
Yeah.
So the one that's spiritually attuned is obviously the first one, lah. And maybe if the battle had gone on, they all would have been possessed, and then it would have been a finale end game kind of thing, right? We don't know, right? But
well, I mean, it's a good thing they had cameras on standby. That would have made one heck of a feature, right?
Yeah, someone was asking in the comments just now, where's the footage? But I think this happened before cameras roll, lah. Unfortunately, all the good stuff happens before cameras roll. Okay.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Eugene.
I think we all got a bit of production stories to share. Right? I was just wondering what you guys have as well.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, moving on to the second part. I mean, like we mentioned, this video was 2-parter, right? Number 1, possession. Number 2, production, and the the pantang, the rituals, the superstitions. And I'm particularly interested to actually hear from Jonathan because of his extensive background in theater. I've had some friends, of course, who have worked in theater as well, and they've casually mentioned that yes, when it comes to productions, when you start something, when you go into a theater, even if it's a theater you've worked in a lot, every time you start a new production, there are certain practices, rituals, traditions that you will do again just to play safer. I mean, you want to have a successful run, so why take chances, right? Might as well just make whatever is down there happy, and hopefully you will have as smooth a run as possible.
I mean, there are 2 sides to that, right? It's the same for theater productions and for filming, right? Whenever you start a new project, you have to ask for blessing and protection, right? And if you are going
you
into
ask for
a
who?
new...
When you ask for blessing, protection.
So okay, most of this would originate from the traditional Chinese. So we're talking about Taoist tradition, lah, right?
Okay.
So for example, you need permission from Tuti Gong because you are performing something in a particular area, a particular locality. So you want his endorsement, you want his authorization, you want his blessing, right? And then you will ask for any other sort of hamper full of blessings from everyone else, lah. Guan Gong and Guan Yin, and basically to keep everyone healthy, keep everyone safe, to bring the audience to you. I've even had ceremonies where they ask the gods to make the audience receptive to their message. So really, it's a lot of well-wishing. Right? But of course, it's also partly psychological, right? Because it's really getting everyone in the team who turns up together to do the ritual together. I think that's a very important action, right? That they can take together.
And what do these rituals entail? I mean, are there gifts? Are there burning?
Suckling pig. The suckling
Oh,
pig.
okay.
Yes,
All
the
right.
full thing, right? There's a full, but that is more often done in filming because they got budget, right? So they call it the lensing ceremony, right? They also do that. They do that in Thailand as well, right? Whenever they start shooting a new series or a new movie, everyone has to come together and do this, right? And I think it's a good sort of cohesive camaraderie thing as well. Even those who don't believe, right, it has its effect on you, right, as a team, so I think that's very special. But the other side of it is about being sort of courteous to the people, the spirits of the venue, right? So this is where the theater side comes into it, right? Because theaters are notoriously easily haunted, right? Even if it's not got a regular ghost of its own, because it's empty all the time, it invites spirits, right? So there are things there and you have to share that space. So it's the same as knocking on a hotel room door before you step in and announcing your presence, but because we're going to be there a while, we're going to be making a lot of noise. So please give us permission. Please, enjoy the show, but don't harass my people, etc., etc. So that happens quite a lot in theater. Some people who don't believe do their own rituals lah.
Okay, but my next question was going to be, I mean, you've done this enough to see when you do it, what were the results, and when you don't do it, what happens then? I mean, and more often than not, in your experience, when rituals, traditions were not respected, ceremonies did not take place, what were some of the what were some of the bad things that happened, the not so good things?
Okay, I've been relatively fortunate because it doesn't happen to me, right? And the Singapore theaters are not too bad, right? Because I think Singapore theaters don't lie empty for long. NAC packs them pretty full. So there's not a lot of time for spirits to take over, right? So generally okay, unless you have content in your show that invites trouble. So if you're doing something about the spirits, right, and that's something. So there was a show that I was doing in Chinatown, right, and it was performed site specifically. So it was performed in a shop house that was owned by the theater, and we wanted to do the show during 7 months, right, because it was a little bit spooky, right, the show. And so they warned us. We had 3 priests that we consulted with, and so they warned us, please ask permission beforehand, so that later on you have insurance. If anything happens, you can go back to the god that gave you permission and ask for his protection, rather than wait for something to happen, right? So we went to the Tutikong temple and we asked for permission. We did the ritual, right, and we tossed the 2 wooden blocks, right, and we did it again and again and again, and permission was not granted. And the company was not going to go ahead taking such a risk, because not only are the actors moving around, the audience is moving around too, so they'll be at risk. Until we asked the monk at the temple to please intercede for us, right? And he had a long conversation with the Tutikong, and then he threw the 2 wooden pieces, and he got us permission.
Did I mean, obviously when they were asking for permission and all that, and they were rejected, right?
Yeah.
Was there reasons given as to why?
No.
Okay.
It was very top down.
So how do they know that how do they know permission is not given?
So they have these 2 kidney shaped pieces of wood, right, which they throw, right? And if they both fall the same way, it's a no.
I see.
It's only if it's one up, one down, you get.
And they kept asking, and it kept landing in that same way
repeatedly. I threw them. The artistic director threw them. The writer threw them, and none of us could get a yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So after we did that, then we felt safer, and so it was sort of spiritual due diligence.
So after the monk interceded on your behalf, you guys threw it again, and it both landed up.
He threw it, and it got it right.
Okay.
So it was quite significant. Otherwise, we would have cancelled the show. In filming, though, it does happen a lot, right? That if you don't ask permission, let's say you're going to an outdoor location or somewhere, you're shooting at night somewhere, and if you don't ask permission, then the usual stories we hear are lights failing, cameras not recording, stuff like that, right?
Or if it's outdoor, it starts to rain.
Okay, so that one, I'm a bit skeptical because this is Singapore, so you can't blame anyone if it starts to rain.
No. I mean, we've done events long enough to know the whole chili and bawang thing, right? They stick it and then miraculously, right? If you stick it at the corners of the area, then suddenly it doesn't rain, right?
That one is a deal that the Prime Minister's office has done with the devil. Okay, there is more than chili. There's some deep Illuminati shit going on about that, okay? About the National Day rain thing. But I mean, weather aside, there are mishaps that happen, You know, equipment that goes missing, vehicles that refuse to move, stuff like that, right, has happened often enough, lah. So you don't have to think twice about taking precaution and being sure. You know, I think everyone does it, even if you claim you're not superstitious, but you know, why take the risk, right?
Exactly. Why take chances?
Is there anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.